Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Mad Butthole. And if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. Let's crack on with today's first story. Now, today's first story comes from Divine4636, who asks, am I the arsehole for taking my daughter and leaving the wedding after a stepbrother pulled her wig? My daughter, 16, Megan, just finished her cancer treatment. She's lost her hair in the process and she's been incredibly insecure because of it. She no longer meets friends nor welcomes them at our home, nor even meet family in person. It's been bad to say the least, but her stepbrother, 18, Ben, has been making it worse with his nagging comments and jokes about her looks. He tried taking and posting pictures of her secretly to share, but I shut that down, even though my husband thought it was just harmless teasing. My husband's sister's wedding was last week. The family wanted Megan to go, but she didn't want to. I spent so much time trying to help her and convince her to start socializing again and see family. She agreed under the condition that I let her wear a wig, which I agreed. Not only that, but I took her shopping to pick her own wig and she looked beautifully stunning in her pixie hairstyle wig. My husband and Ben laughed when they saw it. I don't know why. We went to the wedding and everything was going well till this happened. We were all sitting and we started talking about Megan's looks. Suddenly, Ben reached out and pulled her wig and exposed her head. I was shocked, I froze, but Megan yelled and took her wig and ran. Ben, his cousins and some guests started laughing. I was upset, especially when Ben looked over my shoulder and saw my husband sitting next to his mum and laughing. I lost it on Ben and berated him in front of everyone and took my stuff, got Megan and got into the car and went home. Ben and my husband didn't have a ride home and my husband kept calling me, but I didn't respond. He came home asking about me leaving mid-wedding and upsetting his sister and then leaving him and Ben with no ride home. I argued with him about how Ben embarrassed Megan and humiliated her publicly, which must have ruined what's left of her self-esteem. He said that it was just kids teasing each other and that I overreacted and Ben had no malicious intent, he was just messing with her. I said I was sick of it, but he said that this is their way of bonding as step-siblings and I was getting in the way of it and being overprotective and unreasonable. We didn't talk after that and Ben is refusing to apologize. And his dad is backing him up. Holy shit, I had to stop myself halfway through from making my comment there and then. You know, it gets thrown around a lot on Reddit and in these stories. Divorce this person, get rid of this person, but abso-fucking-lutely get rid of this person. The dad I'm obviously talking about here, you know, Ben's actions were absolutely disgusting. The family laughing about it as well. Why do you want to be around any of these people? They sound like absolutely awful people. Who the hell? What goes through their mind? Someone who's just been through cancer, obviously insecure about losing their hair. Ben not saying to his stepsister, you know, come to the wedding, I will support you, I will back you up whenever you need it. Not doing that, but instead pulling her wig off, embarrassing her in front of everyone, laughing and trying to make a joke about her. And the rest of the family laughing as well is absolutely disgusting. If I was a guest in that room, I'd be horrified by all their behavior. But not says, not the arsehole, but you need to divorce that man. His and his adult son's behavior is disgusting. There is absolutely no excuse for what Ben did. Infected replies to that saying, yes, when your daughter starts dating, she's going to look to your example about how a man should treat her and what a healthy adult relationship should look like. If you stay with this man, you're teaching your daughter that emotional abuse is okay. Murphy says you would be the arsehole if you stay married to this man. I'd be kicking him and his arsehole son to the curb. Who the fuck makes fun of a cancer patient? Better yet, who lets someone make fun of a cancer patient? Why are you staying with this man? Monkey Wrench says not the arsehole, you ought to reconsider who you are married to. Your husband is equally as cruel as his son and we can all see where his son gets it from. Especially when you saw both your husband and his father laughing about it as well. They are a cruel family, and I'm sorry your daughter is suffering due to you not wanting to see the truth until this event. High on Catnip Brownies replies that saying the son, father and his relatives were all laughing. OP, you might have been conned into marrying into a completely toxic family. Are you sure that your husband didn't tell his son to do it or egg him on to make your daughter the butt of a joke for his family? OP, please get your daughter a therapist. Not because it sounds like she needs therapy, but because she really needs a third party to tell about these incidents as a sounding board. Kind of like having a normal meter who isn't involved in the family dynamics because your husband is doing a good job covering for his kid. Your daughter needs a person who doesn't care about Ben or husband's feelings. Raise in the Water says no malicious intent. Adults laughing at a child with cancer isn't malicious. If that isn't malicious, then I don't know what is. OP replies saying he was talking about Ben's behavior in general, which he considered to be harmless teasing, but I disagreed and told him that this isn't acceptable. But I got called overprotective and irrational. Current Joke replies to that saying, that's your sign to leave for your daughter's sake. What you are allowing your daughter to be put through for the sake of your marriage is ridiculous and cruel. As a mother, the first time it happened, I would be pissed. The second time, I'm gone. Your daughter has no self-esteem because you're allowing her tormentors to keep doing it. For the love of your child, leave and get her into therapy. Now, what do you guys make of this situation? How would you deal with it if you was OP? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Let's move on to another story. And our next story comes from Easy Ice 8277, who says, am I the asshole for stopping my parents from paying for my sister's IVF and telling her she can't afford to have a kid? I am male 23. My sister is female 28, married to male 30 for 6 years. My sister has been trying for a baby for about 3 years now, without success. 18 months ago, she and her husband came to my parents and asked if we'd finance an IVF treatment. My parents have some savings separate from retirement and agreed to pay for it, and I even pitched in a few $100s to show my support, even though I didn't have a lot of savings, having just started work after graduation. Unfortunately, the IVF failed. Yesterday, my sister and brother-in-law came over again for dinner. Afterwards, my sister said she wanted to try for another round of IVF and asked my parents if they would pay for it again. I could tell my parents looked hesitant, but they agreed because my sister was crying. At this point, I stood up and said it's not right for her to ask again for our parents' money for something that didn't work before and may not work again. We argued a bit, and I admit that things got heated and we had a big fight. She yelled at me that it was none of my business. I told her if she can't pay for the IVF, then she needs to accept that she can't afford a kid. She told me to get out, but I refused. My parents were trying to calm us down. My mum started telling me that it's not my money, to which I replied that it's basically a gift to one child and not the other, that it was only fair that I'd be given a similar amount of money as what they would spend on my sister. My sister started complaining that it's not a gift, it's a treatment for a medical condition, and if I'd expect payment if she had cancer and my parents paid for chemo. I told her not being able to have kids poses no threat to her life the way cancer does, and it's a completely disingenuous comparison. My dad finally stood up and yelled at both of us to shut up and sit down. Then he told my sister that they already paid for one, and I had a point that continuing to pay for it would be unfair. He said he's very sorry for what she's going through, but they need to accept how things are. My sister started crying again, and her husband, who had been quiet and looking uncomfortable the whole time, took her and left. Today, my sister sent me some texts calling me an arsehole for sticking my nose in her business and keeping her from having a baby. Am I the arsehole? And we'll start off with Terry Sayers, who says, not the arsehole. The way you said it was harsh, bordering on arsehole territory. But your parents were about to just hand over tens of thousands of dollars that they probably need for their retirement years because your sister was crying. Your sister is only 28. There's time for her and her husband to save the money to have IVF again in a few years, or they can ask other family or friends to chip in. But you did the right thing to help safeguard your parents' retirement needs. Hypothetical Ginger says, not being able to afford IVF doesn't necessarily mean someone can't afford a kid, but your sister sounds extremely entitled and almost panicked, so perhaps you are right. She sounds vaguely manipulative too. Saying vague because God knows what you can tell from a Reddit thread. Thus, not the arsehole from me. Maybe you didn't bring this up / handle it in the perfect way, but I'm glad you stepped in on behalf of your parents. They probably would never have been able to say no, and honestly, IVF is expensive as fuck. And God's opinion says it's a little disingenuous to argue that if she deserves cash for an IVF, you deserve the same amount of cash for insert expensive thing here. But I do agree with your larger overall point that kids are insanely expensive, and if the 15 to 20k is a barrier, then what the hell are they going to do when they actually have a kid? Not the arsehole. Rain Mist says everyone sucks here, except for your parents and brother-in-law. You suck for thinking that you are owed the same amount of money in form of a gift and trying to tell your parents what they can and can't do with their money. Your sister sucks for trying to get more money out of them despite the treatment failing. And one more from Olaz, who says you're the arsehole. It's not your money, it's not your business. You are acting entitled as fuck by not only inserting yourself into your parents' decision, but then acting as though they owe you whatever they give her. Parents don't provide kids equally the exact same things in life. They provide them what they each need if possible. Did every single activity and its equipment needed you ever did growing up cost exactly the same thing? Very likely not. In your defense, you are only 23. Your brain is not fully formed and it shows. Your parents should be telling you to sit the fuck down and mind your business, and if you are lucky, not decreasing the amount you may one day inherit by the amount you're pitching a fit about. If your parents can afford it, it is their decision and theirs alone. If they choose to wait a while and let your sister try other ways, that's up to them. You didn't explain their full situation, your sister and her husband, but either way, it's still not your decision to make. Now, what do you guys make of this one? What would you do in this situation? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's have another story. This one comes from Muchdoor1251, who says, am I the arsehole for having my sister's friend car towed when she kept intentionally blocking me in my driveway? And it does come with like a mini update at the end. So backstory, I'm 10 years older than my younger sister and have a house about 2 hours from my parents' house where she lives. My sister often stays with me on the weekends because I live a few minutes from a large recreational lake. This is fine as long as she is quiet and allows me to sleep, as I work 5 AM to 5 PM shifts all weekend. My sister is very courteous and I enjoy having her over. However, my sister has been bringing her new friend with her. They drive separately because the friend leaves for summer school on Sunday nights, and my sister is on summer break and often stays until Monday afternoon so we can spend more time together because I work weekends. This friend has been nothing but trouble. She's very loud, obnoxious and annoying. She often wakes me several times during the night laughing loudly, going in and out of the house and slamming the door, using the microwave/oven timer, etc. I have nicely told her to please keep the noise down, and she always says that she is trying to be quiet but forgets sometimes that I'm there. The major issue is that the friend continues to park directly behind me in my driveway, where I cannot back out to go to work in the mornings. I go to bed around 8 PM on Fridays, and the friend usually arrives at my house later than that, so I can't catch it as it happens. I always have to find her keys in the morning to move the car myself, or if I can't find them, wake her to move her car. This has almost made me late for work every Saturday for the past 5 weeks. I remind her the next day when I get home to please not park behind me because there is plenty of street parking, but it never fails for her to be behind me the next Saturday when I leave for work. This week was the last straw. I set up a traffic cone behind my car last night to remind her to not park behind me. When I woke up this morning, I saw that she had moved the cone and parked behind me, even though the space behind my sister was empty and there was plenty of street parking in front of my house. I was extremely angry, as this was at least the 5th week I told her not to park behind me. I called a tow truck and had her car towed. While I was at work, I got an angry text from the friend asking about her car. I explained to her that I had it towed and that she was not to block me in intentionally again, or she was no longer welcome in my house. My sister and her friend both think I'm the arsehole, but I feel that after so many reminders, my actions were justified. Am I the arsehole? Hell no, not the arsehole in this situation. How disrespectful can one person be to you? They even said that they forgot you were there, in your own house. And it just felt intentional to me. You've been told several times not to do it. At least the 5th week you told her not to park behind you. You put a cone behind it. She moved the cone even though there were spaces all around. She done it on purpose. Why she doing it on purpose, I don't know. Maybe just being an arsehole. But do you want an arsehole in your house? No. And I would certainly be talking to the sister about it, saying that you absolutely love having your sister around, but, new friend is not welcome anymore. Simple as that to me. And whenever we cover parking stories, it always just reminds me of the story of where my brother, someone parked in front of his garage because he lives quite close to a town, that he just got his van, literally tied it to the back of his van and dragged it out in the middle of the road. Obviously, there could have been some issues regarding damage and stuff like that, but that didn't come up in the end. My brother suffers no fools, but Alarming City says not the arsehole. You repeatedly asked her not to park behind you. You left a cone out to remind her, and she still blocked you in. I wouldn't even give her another chance to come over if it were me. You need to sleep, and you need to be able to leave the house on time for work without stressing about someone blocking you in. Also, you deserve basic human decency and respect from anyone who is staying at your house. Since she can't manage to do that, she has no place in your home. Invez says, not the arsehole. If your sister thinks you're an arsehole, then ban her from coming over as well. It's all fun and games until it starts messing with your livelihood. They can take this BS somewhere else. Your sister's friend and your sister included, since she allowed this to happen when she is your sister's friend. Derek says, her moving the cone made it obvious it was a power move. She wanted you to know she had the control even though it was your house. She's just angry that you showed how idiotic that was with an even bigger power move. She was counting on you to just swallow it. Not the arsehole. And one more from Dismal Staff who says, not the arsehole. You have been incredibly accommodating to her by offering your house to her when you were working all weekend. She has shown a pattern of disrespect, and parking in front of your driveway is intentional disrespect. This does not happen on accident, especially multiple times. I'm surprised you have been this patient thus far. I would have already told her she is no longer welcome. She continued to disrespect the very simple boundaries you established. If your sister cannot understand your frustration, she can find a place to stay other than your house for her weekends. So OP came in with a little update which says, my sister has apologized to me. She was unaware of the times I had to move her friend's car and only knew about the 2 times I had to wake her friend to find her keys and move the car. Her friend did not tell her I was moving her car in the mornings. I tried not to start drama between the two of them by calling the friend out in front of my sister, so she truly did not know how I felt. She and I have agreed that the friend is not to come back over, and I doubt she and the friend will remain friends for much longer. Thanks for the clarification that I was not the arsehole. Now, what do you guys make of this one? And let's move on to another story. This one's from Brady to Gronk. I spotted it, I thought it's on brand, so let's go with it. Am I the arsehole for commenting to a hotel guest making a second waffle when there was clearly a line of hungry travelers behind her? I was staying at a hotel in Chicago last month with my children, male 22, female 18, and the place offered free breakfast for guests. They had the usual cereal, juice, coffee, yogurt, and fruit setup. They also had one waffle maker that made one waffle at a time. It was in a smallish room on the 6th floor with about 20 or more people in there. I was hungry, but I waited patiently in line. As each waffle cycle takes 3 minutes, there was a youngish adult woman ahead of me, and just as she finished removing her waffle and started stepping forward, she poured the batter for a second waffle. I'm guessing for a friend back at the room. 3 more minutes of standing there as the table started filling up. I said loudly something like, "A second waffle? I didn't realize we were doing that. Another one." She didn't respond. I let out a sigh and sat down at the table to eat my non-waffle other breakfast food. When she was done, the nice guy who had been behind me tapped me on the shoulder and said I could go ahead and make mine. I thanked him and did just that. Then I thanked him again as I was leaving. Am I the arsehole for saying something and not just waiting, or should she have made one waffle and got back in the line for the second one? What if she decided to make waffles for 2 more friends? That's 6 more minutes for everyone standing there. Typing this out, I realize this is one of the most minor situations I've seen here, yet I'm still thinking about it. So, here we are. Now, I've been in many a hotel queue. Unfortunately, no waffle makers, which is strange. I'm finding that really weird now. But they usually have like a toaster or a coffee machine even. Let's go with the coffee machine. There you have to wait a couple of minutes for someone to make their coffee as it brews and does all the automatic shit it does to get your plasticky tasting beverage. And sometimes people will get 2, maybe even 3 cups of coffee because, maybe they got like, other family members that they're going up there for. And I don't really see a problem with it. Sure, if they was getting like 10 cups of coffee, I may be like a bit peed off about it. I think it's just being reasonable and understanding the situation around you. But 2 waffles, you're complaining about 2 waffles. Maybe she just wanted 2. She's totally entitled to 2. I think that's a fair portion to have, you know. Maybe she had a child at her table that she was getting breakfast for there. What, you wanted to go round to the back of the queue? We were talking about 3 minutes of time here, so she'd have to wait for everyone else. We could be talking about 20 minutes here. She's already queued once for 1 waffle. Now she has to go for a 20-minute fucking queue again for a second waffle. You kidding me? And you stand there and make a passive-aggressive comment saying, a second waffle? I didn't realize we're doing that. Another one. Like she was being greedy or something. Inconveniencing you for 3 minutes. Only 3 minutes. You can't be that hungry. I'd have been more peed off that you got to leave the queue after your little whinging episode and then got to stand back up and make it before me after you left the queue. The Brit coming out of me there. I would have been sighing like a mofo. But we'll start off with Wildfell Springs, who says, you're the arsehole, and quotes, a second waffle. I didn't realize we're doing that. Another one. And goes on to say, I get you were frustrated, but this passive-aggressive, petty, dramatic behavior, that wasn't going to help the situation in any way. You already acknowledged that they were likely just taking 2 back to their room for someone else. It's the chance you take with a self-service buffet-style breakfast. I don't think you'd have the same issue if you were sat at a table and you sent one of your kids up to go get you a waffle each. I doubt you would be suggesting she rejoin the queue at the back. It was 3 minutes compared to rejoining the queue. A little bit of patience goes a long way in these situations. Everybody wants to get in and out as fast as possible, and expecting someone to rejoin the queue is unreasonable. I think you were also fortunate the person behind you allowed you to go in the front. I don't think I would have. Penguin says you're the arsehole and rude as muck. I'm sorry, do the guests need to check with you about their breakfast orders because it may inconvenience you by 3 minutes? Get over yourself and your sense of entitlement. Grab some fruit, it should hold you over for the entire 6 minutes. General Relative says you're the arsehole, you made a big deal out of a 3-minute waffle, and you were such a baby that another guest pacified you by letting you make your waffle before he did. You set a poor and embarrassing example for your adult children. And while someone making a second waffle might be one of the minor situations you've seen on this forum, the way you escalated it isn't. And I'm kind of surprised there was a fair few not the arsehole posts as well. So I'm going to cover a couple of those just because I always find them interesting. And, you know, I might be wrong myself. I would never say, you know, I'm right about every single post because absolutely not. I have lots of bad takes. But Hibernative says, not the arsehole. I'm astonished at all the you're the arsehole responses. Good manners in that situation would have been to make 1 waffle and then come back for another if needed. Starting at the back of the line again. That way everybody gets their first waffle as quickly as possible. Exciting Froyo says, I actually think everyone sucks here. You are the arsehole for being passive-aggressive when there was no need for those kinds of comments. She's the arsehole because if there's a line you should take your portion and move on. It's one thing to get stuff for others if you get there early and you're not holding people up. But if you're delaying a bunch of people, yeah, you're kind of the arsehole too. And Jedi says, not the arsehole, that's kind of nosy, and it was extra to make a scene out of it, but it's inconsiderate to hold up a line. She could have just gotten back in the line after she finished preparing her waffle. Now, what do you guys make of this situation? Would you get angry if someone was making a double waffle on the waffle maker while you was in the back of the queue, having to wait 3 minutes at a time? Would your waffle rage be able to handle it? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just a huge thank you for spending your time with me today. Getting involved in the stories, your love, support and time always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much. And if you'd like to support the channel further, never expected but always appreciated, you can on Patreon, patreon.com/Mark Narrations, or click that join button down below for YouTube. We also have the podcast format. If you search on Acast or any of the popular podcasts out there, you will find Mark Narrations, the Wafflecast, where you can listen in a different way. Thank you so much, and hopefully I will see you in the next one, you bloody cheeky so-and-so. Much love.
Wake up, get up, stretch my legs, eat some breakfast, milk and eggs, brush my teeth up, wash my face, throw my clothes on, start my day. Wake up, I can smell the smoke from the bacon. Let's go, see the sun shining from the windows. Okay, I know that today